Well, welcome back, everyone. Unfortunately, we need to talk about Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie and the case again. Now, in case you are not familiar with who Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, were, unfortunately, they are both past tense. Gabby was murdered, and the number one person who could have done it was Brian Laundrie, her boyfriend that she resided with. Now, they never named Brian Laundrie the person of interest in the murder. They never named him as a suspect. They only said that he was a missing person and a person that they wanted to talk to. Now, they also did file charges of fraud for using her debit card, but we have since learned that that account, even if they would have charged him with fraud, he would have gotten off on it because both of their incomes from online social media went into that account. So Brian did have the right to withdraw money from that account, and he did remove $1,000 of the close to $12,000 that was in the account. Now, that's all beside the point. Gabby was murdered, and then Brian took his own life down in the state of Florida in the wildlife preserve. They're gone, and they've left giant holes in the families that they left behind and the loved ones who cared about each of them. As much as we want to say that, Brian and his parents are the worst people here, let us not forget that Brian Laundrie's parents suffered emotional damages beyond belief the day that it was confirmed that he died, that he took his own life there in the preserve. They lost someone they cared about as well. Now, Gabby obviously was murdered, and that's true. And again, Brian was the most likely individual who killed her. But we don't know that, and we're never going to get justice for Gabby. Fast forward to yesterday. Yesterday was the first day of the civil trial. In case you're not aware, Gabby's mother and father are suing, Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt are suing the Laundrie family for emotional mental anguish. And they are seeking $30,000. Not $230,000, not $330,000, not even $130,000, just $30,000. Their attorney laid out a very convincing argument in court that the Laundrie parents had did this, and this, and they laid it out in a timeline. First, Roberta, the only person they were ever able to communicate with, that they had phone numbers and other social media contacts with, blocked them on her cell phone. She blocked the numbers. She blocked them on Facebook and other social media sites where they could, or the family could, reach out to contact her. They went dark, if you will. But the Petito's attorney also laid out that while they were still seeking, and trying to find Gabby, that the Laundrie parents picked Brian up and went on a family vacation camping while they were dealing with trying to find their missing daughter. They went camping. First, she blocked them. Then they took Brian camping. And the third accusation of this civil lawsuit is that they tried to help Brian get out of the country before he could be caught. But we know now that Brian instead walked out into the wildlife preserve there and took his own life, and in a short period of time after he went missing. And then animals ravaged his rotting corpse there in the wildlife preserve. To this day, they still have never recovered all of Brian's body, as far as I've been able to confirm. But they have been able to confirm enough of his body to get positive identification and DNA from. So yes, to all the conspiracy theories out there, there is part of Brian that is still missing. But we know through DNA and forensics that it is Brian. And we know he's gone. He paid the ultimate price, even if it was at his own hand. But additionally, too, back to the court case yesterday, Brian Laundrie's parents didn't bother to show up for the first day of court. They did send their attorney representative in their place, but they didn't show up. They still are ignoring everything that the Petito family asks for. They've never returned Gabby's belongings that were there in their home. They've never returned the pictures, the stuffed animals, the clothing, any of it. Then the question has to be asked. Do they still have these things, or have they disposed of them all? Regardless, and not caring at all. I hope that they wouldn't have done it, but we don't know. But they didn't have to legally be there for the first day of the civil trial. This was just oral arguments over should the trial, go forward to a jury in the early part of 2023. Because that is the most available date, in the earliest date, or however you want to look at it, for the civil trial. But they didn't bother to even show up for this. But at the trial, the first day of the trial, the oral arguments, both of Gabby's mother, her stepmother, several friends, extended family members, their attorney, they all could be bothered to make the journey there to the courthouse, to be there in support of, Gabby's parents. But not the Laundries. They sent nobody to it, and nobody was there to speak out or to support the Laundrie side other than their attorney. Again, they are seeking $30,000, and there is a policy in place that Brian Laundrie's father has that would most likely protect them up to $500,000 in a civil matter such as this. Will give them coverage and cover the attorney's cost, but they still couldn't be bothered to show up. Thank you again for joining me. Please, even if you don't believe in organized religion, please say a prayer for Gabby tonight, and take a moment out of your life and remember, even though Brian Laundrie is most likely the person who killed her, his parents are still grieving the loss of their son. If you've never been affected by suicide, you will never, ever understand just how much it will rock a family to their core. And I'm not saying that the death of Gabby was any less of knocking them to their knees and rocking them to their core. The death of somebody, especially so young, is hard. So, take a moment. If you know somebody who is out there who might be on the edge, reach out to them. Even if you just send them an email, a quick email, and say, just a reminder that I love you and that I'm here. If you ever need to talk. You have a great rest of your week.